Today we're talking about the Radster Road, which is a brand new commuter e-bike from Rad Power Bikes. This bike's upgraded motor has more power than other models we've tested from Rad previously, so can it conquer our hill test faster than those other bikes as well? Let's take a ride and find out. Hey everyone, welcome to Electric Bike Report. I'm John. If you're new to our channel, we are known for our extremely in-depth reviews of e-bikes of all shapes and sizes. So if you're looking for some help in finding the best bike for you, please make sure you're subscribed and you have notifications turned on so you don't miss any of our new content. But on to the Radster Road. I've got to say right up front that we were pretty blown away with this bike. It seems to be kind of the spiritual successor to the RadCity, but it's a big jump forward in a number of ways, including speed, power, safety, security, and just overall feel. Starting off with the motor, this bike uses a 750 watt rear hub with 100 Newton meters of torque, and it's the first of Rad's bikes to get the upgrade to a torque sensor. So in comparison to previous Rad models, it felt a little more punchy and a lot more natural. These upgrades also hugely impacted the bike's performance, and we'll talk more about that in our speed, hill, and range test sections later in the review. Rad has also taken huge strides with this bike in terms of its safety features. To start, the Radster and its 48 volt 720 watt hour battery are both UL 2849 and UL 2271 certified. But more importantly, the battery itself uses what Rad is calling Safe Shield technology. So inside the battery pack are a series of battery cells that look like big AA batteries, and Rad filled all the spaces between and around these cells with a heat-resistant resin to create what is called a potted battery. This makes the battery less susceptible to some of the potential flammability issues that all lithium-ion batteries have, and Rad is the first brand of this size we've seen to actually take this step. On top of that, I was really happy to see both brake lights and turn signals here, which I think every commuter e-bike should just come equipped with. In terms of security features, the Radster has the option for a 4-digit passcode on startup, but it also includes a key card that you can use to bypass the code by holding close to the display. Personally, I think e-bikes need every security feature they can get, and I found the key card to be a much more convenient option overall. Let's finish up the basics with a run through of the Radster spec sheet. The bike includes an 8-speed Shimano Acera drivetrain with a 50-tooth chainring and an 11 to 34-tooth cassette. The brakes are the seemingly ubiquitous Tektro E350 hydraulic disc system with 2 piston calipers and 180mm rotors. The Radster is also available in a trail version, and the road version here differs primarily with its tires and handlebars. The tires on this bike are the Quick model from Kenda, and they're 29-inch by 2.2-inch with a relatively minimal street tread pattern. This bike also has full coverage fenders and a chain guard, in addition to a headlight, a tail light with brake lights, and those turn signals I mentioned. And it also has a cargo rack with 55 pounds of carrying capacity. And then up in the cockpit, there are ergonomic Dutch-style handlebars with rubber grips. There's a 6-button control panel with buttons for pedal assist setting adjustment, turn signal activation, and interaction with the display. And then the display itself is also an upgrade. It's a really clean looking color LCD that might just be one of my new personal favorites. I found it to be extremely well organized and easy to read, with important ride data like the current pedal assist setting, speed, battery bar, watt meter, an estimated range, and the odometer. To wrap things up, the Radster Road has 2 color options, including lunar white and this bay blue. It weighs a pretty beefy 78 pounds with the battery installed and 67.5 without the battery. It ships as a Class 2 e-bike that can be adjusted to Class 1 or either a limited or full Class 3 mode. And then Rad offers a pretty wide range of accessories for the bike that you can check out using our affiliate link in the video description. But that covers just about everything, so let's dive into our test data and see how the Radster Road performed. First, we'll talk about our brake test. We measured the distance the Radster took to stop after we brought it up to 20 miles per hour. We tested it 3 times and averaged the results to get a distance of 22 feet 1 inch. Compared to other commuter e-bikes we've tested, the Radster was a little slower with stopping than the average, but only by a few inches, and overall the numbers looked really good. We chalk up the small difference here to the bike's weight, as it's also heavier than average. Most commuters we have data for weighed around 60 to 65 pounds, and heavier bikes have more inertia that the brakes have to compensate for. We've seen this particular brake system on a lot of different e-bikes, and its performance is varied, but in my testing, this system felt very solid. I noticed that the Radster would kind of skate for a bit if I really laid into the brakes, which is a side effect of the relatively smooth tires, but it generally felt stable and its behavior wasn't anything out of the ordinary. So bottom line, I think the bike did a great job, and I think the brakes were clearly safe and effective. I did 2 different speed tests with the Radster, one in Class 2 mode with a 20 mile per hour limit, and another in the full Class 3 mode with pedal assist up to 28. Let's take a look at how the bike performed in each of its 5 pedal assist settings in both of those modes, and then we can see how quickly the throttle reached 20 miles per hour. All right, we are here to do a Class 2 speed test on the Radster Road. I'm going here with no pedal assist, kind of around 10.5, 11 miles per hour from the looks of things. I'm gonna kind of go between screens here just since the main display does not have tenths of a mile per hour. But yeah, so somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and bump up to PAS1. So I don't know if you can even hear the motor. I can barely hear it. Very quiet and pretty subtle level of power here. You can see the power meter. I'm getting only about 60 watts or so. So it definitely feels very similar, very much like a normal bike. And then moving up, this bike has a torque sensor. It's one of the first of Rads to do so, so I'll keep my level of effort pretty consistent and kind of in the mid-range. So let's go up to PAS2. Big jump in power there. Actually went up to 200 watts for a sec. Shifting up, definitely made a big difference in the ease of pedaling. This is very comfortable. So we're going around 14 miles per hour here. Actually gonna shift up to 4th gear. Yeah, very, very comfortable at around 14 miles per hour, maybe 14 and a half. All right, let's go up to PAS3. Definitely feel more power there. Nice, yeah, shifting up again. Picking up some real speed here. So we're going around 17 miles per hour, 16 and a half, 17, something like that. Let's go ahead and go up to PAS4. And the, increases in power have felt pretty consistent so far. We'll see if that is the case. On your left. So we're going kind of around 18 and a half, 19 miles per hour, something like that in PAS4. And we'll finish it off in PAS5. Got actually a little bit of a kick there. Wasn't really expecting that from a Rad bike, but I really like it. That's great. All right, and we are hitting that Class 2 limit of right around 20 miles per hour, 19 and a half, 20 miles per hour. All right, let's call that this speed test, and I will see you for the Class 3 test. All right, we are here for a Class 3 speed test on the Radster Road, and I'm kind of dialing in my level of effort here so we're in the same starting range. So all right, about 10 and a half, 11 miles per hour there. Yeah, okay, let's go up to PAS1. Again, similar, very subtle feel, just kind of rides like a normal bike, a little bit easier. So going around 11, maybe 11 and a half miles per hour here. Let's go ahead and up to PAS2. Again, an immediate difference. Shifting up to 3rd gear and getting, around 200 watts, maybe a little above. So speed-wise, again, kind of landing in about the same place, 13 and a half, 14 miles per hour or so. All right, 14 and a half, 15, yep. Let's go head up to PAS3. shift up at least one gear here, maybe two. Definitely a much bigger difference here again, feeling the power of the motor. And we'll get around here, shifting up to 5th gear. Yeah, definitely feeling breezy. So going around 18 miles per hour here, maybe a little above. Let's go up to PAS 4. I think this PAS system is pretty well balanced, it seems to be. We're exceeding the class 2 limit now, which is good. So we're going around 22 miles per hour. I think I saw a little above 22 on the app. And then let's go up to PAS 5 and finish things off. So we'll shift up to 7th gear. Drivetrain seems to be really effective at higher speeds. So going around 26 by the bike, and the app might be catching up a little bit. So yeah, between 25 and a half by the app and 26 on the bike. All right, we're here to do a throttle acceleration test on the Radster Road from 0 to 20. So we'll start in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, got some kick there. That's nice. And I guess we'll go by the main display here, building steadily, and 20. To recap those results, I started off with no pedal assist and hit a max of 11.2 miles per hour. That speed was comfortable, but I could really feel the weight of the bike. In the class 2 test, I hit 11.9 miles per hour in PAS 1, 14.5 in PAS 2, 16.8 in PAS 3, 19 miles per hour in PAS 4, and 20.1 in PAS 5. In the class 3 test, my results started off pretty similar, but then showed a big difference in the higher settings. I recorded 11.5 miles per hour in PAS 1, 14.9 in PAS 2, 18.3 in PAS 3, 22.2 in PAS 4, and then 25.8 miles per hour in PAS 5. So I've got a few takeaways from the test. First, I think the power distribution in both tests was really well done. The increases between settings felt very consistent and even. The class 2 data shows a little bit of an effect from the 20 mile per hour limit in PAS 5, but overall the graphs matched the way the bike behaved very well. Second, I really liked the span of different power levels. The Radster felt very natural in its low power settings, and then in PAS 3 and above, I really liked the punchier feel of the motor. Third, some bikes with torque sensors don't really have speed limits, just power limits, but this bike seemed to top out around the numbers I recorded. I don't really have a preference either way, but I do like the way the Radster handled things. Fourth, I think it's great that there's so much customization over the bike's speed. It's pretty normal for bikes to be able to switch between classes these days, but not all of them go this far. The Radster offers limits at either 25 or 28 miles per hour in class 3 settings, and you can really dial that in based on what you want. And finally, I liked the peppy feel of the throttle. It felt powerful, but not too punchy, which I think helps this to still feel like a rad bike. Bottom line, I was really impressed with the bike's performance here, so huge kudos to Rad for pulling off some big changes very well. The Radster Road's advertised range is 25 to 65 miles, and we measured the distance it could travel in both a low and high power test to determine how accurate that estimate was. Our results were 36.3 to 53.3 miles, and I think the bike did a great job, but there are a handful of details that I want to point out. First things first, we tested it in the class 2 mode that it ships in, so if you're riding in class 3 mode, you should expect to get less mileage in the higher power settings. Second, we're currently reviewing both versions of this bike. We tested the trail version in PAS 1 and PAS 5, and we tested this one in PAS 2 and PAS 5, so the roads version's data is a little bit skewed when it comes to the low power test. The trail version got over 75 miles in its PAS 1 test with the same frame, motor, and battery, So we think this bike can definitely match and exceed Rad's advertised range, but we tested it in PAS2 to reflect what you can expect if you prefer a little more power than the very minimal output in PAS1. Another thing is that I personally performed the PAS5 test on this bike, and I noticed that once I was up to speed and moving continuously, the bike actually didn't require much power from the battery to maintain 20 miles per hour. I purposefully backed my speed down to show what would happen with the motor drawing a more significant amount of wattage, so I think that if you're able to travel at 20 miles per hour without stopping regularly, you could probably stretch out the battery charge quite a bit further than I did. The results we measured were average to high when compared to similar commuter bikes we've tested, but assuming that the Radster Road could meet and exceed the Radster Trail's results, it should be able to perform well above average in the big picture. We'd like to see Rad upgrade the battery charger from 2 amps to 3 amps in the future to reduce charging time, but the Radster Road definitely has a practical amount of range for long commutes or leisure rides, so I give it a solid 2 thumbs up in this test. Our hill test is a pretty intense challenge for most e-bikes. We were really curious how the Radster Road would do based on the relatively slow and steady approach that other Rad bikes have taken. I'll pass you over to our test rider Justin to see how this bike did with its throttle and with the maximum level of pedal assist.
Okay, so we're out here on Hell Hole in the Radster City now. So a little slicker tires in the trail, little swept back handles. We're gonna see how it does. Right now about 12 and 11, feeling pretty solid through that steep section. 10, 9, you know, they upgraded that rear hub motor to 100 newton meters of torque. They've kept it at a max 750 watts, so it's not peaking over 750. Usually you need to peak it up to get a little more torque, you know, but 100 newton meters of torque, I can definitely feel it climbing up this hill. This feels pretty solid. Motor is very quiet. I'll let you listen to it through this section here. Yeah, so overall I'd say quieter ride than the trail because you don't have the knobbies, you've got the slick tires, and so I can hear the motor just a little bit more because there's less tire noise, but it's very quiet. Did really well. You know, 9 miles per hour was as low as it got through that section, so I think Rad has done a fantastic job improving the torque on these. We'll check the tape, but I think this will be a pretty much faster than the RadCity would be than the current RadCity would be my guess. Okay, we're back out with the Radster Road. Sorry, I called it the Radster City last time. The Radster Road on the pedal test. Now shifting once. Feels very zippy. So 15 miles, 14 miles an hour through this section. I'm not having to pedal much. I do have to pedal some given that torque sensor. But yeah, it feels very natural, very smooth. Down just about 11, 12. Motor noise is very well done. It is not loud, not whiny at all. Let you listen through this section here. Yeah, shifted down to 4th gear. And as you can tell, it's a very quiet bike. Very powerful, very comfortable climbing. Oh, on your left, one more time, sorry. Thanks. And just overall, feels fantastic up the hill. I do think it's going to be quite a bit improvement on performance thanks to that improved torque. So let's go check the times.
So Justin's results were really solid here. On throttle, he made it in 1 minute and 33 seconds with an average of 11.7 miles per hour. And with pedal assist, he shaved that down to 1 minute and 16 seconds with an average of 14.3 miles per hour. Compared to other commuters with 750 watt rear hubs, this is the first of Rad's bikes that has ended up with an above average time. And that really just comes down to the increased motor torque. For perspective, the motor on the RadCity 5 Plus had a max of 60 newton meters of torque, so the Radster Road's 100 newton meters is a 67% increase. We usually see slightly worse performance with bikes that have torque sensors since their motors aren't kicking out their maximum amount of power all the time. So I think it was a really smart move to bump that torque rating up on the Radster. It clearly made a difference in this test, but it also didn't drastically alter the feel of the bike. Rad's motors don't peak above their nominal wattage, so again, that helped the Radster to still feel like a Rad Power bike, and that's something we really value. It's one main reason we recommend Rad's bikes to older riders who prefer a more reserved feel. I think younger riders will find a bit more than usual to appreciate about the Radster, but at the same time, there's not too much power that would turn off the older audience. Once again, 2 very solid thumbs up in this test. Let's take the Radster Road out for one final spin, talk about its ride quality, and hopefully give you a better sense of what it's like to ride. I'll add a little bit more color once we get back here in the studio. All right, we are here to talk about ride quality on the Radster Road. This is sort of a Dutch-influenced commuter with these curved handlebars, 29-inch wheels, and a relatively upright riding position. That'll depend a little bit on your height. So there are 2 frame sizes here for riders from 4'11" up to 6'4". And when it comes to adjustability, your primary adjustment points are the seat post and the rails on the saddle. With the standard style stem here, you're fairly limited. You can rotate the handlebars a little bit, the angle, to adjust your hand position, but like personally, I find the handlebar height to be a little bit low, so I'd probably looking at replacing that stem with something that has a little bit more rise. There's a front suspension fork here from SR Suntour with 80 millimeters of travel, which is what we'd expect for a commuter. I don't know that it does a whole lot, just most of my weight is on the saddle. But you know, if you were to replace these handlebars with something different and have a little bit more weight there, then that may change. The tires themselves, I really like the stability of those, and with the 29-inch wheel size, they reduce the impact of bumps. These are the Kenda Quick model that are, again, 29-inch by 2.2. And then, of course, the rear hub motor is has a torque sensor on this bike. So I'm actually going to try to show that off a little bit. We'll go up to PAS4. So 750 watts of nominal power. And yeah, you can, I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, as I apply more pressure, you know, the speed of the bike is adapting very quickly, very natural feeling, very responsive. So let's go back to the studio and wrap things up. I think Rad generally did a really solid job with the Radster's feel, but I do want to discuss the fit a bit more, as it wasn't quite what I expected. The regular size frame is advertised for riders from 4'11" up to 5'8", and the large goes from 5'7" to 6'4". Both frames have different step over heights, so the regular is more of a true step through with a 19.75-inch step over, and the large has more of a mid-step design with a 24-inch step over. Based on the bike's Dutch styling, I expected its handlebar height to be higher than it was, and I found the riding position to be a bit awkward because of that, kind of a middle ground between cruiser and commuter style bikes. The handlebar and stem combination on the Radster Trail felt more natural to me, so for this version, you may want to consider a different stem or set of handlebars if you find yourself in my shoes. But that in mind, everyone is different, so definitely give the bike a try and see how it feels for you. That aside, I did find the bike, and specifically the contact points, to be very comfortable. I really liked the squishiness of the saddle and the ergonomic feel of the grips and handlebars. And then again, the motor power and the responsiveness of the torque sensor were honestly way above and beyond my expectations for this bike. I found the ride to be really enjoyable all around, so I've got to give some serious kudos to Rad for really modernizing the feel of this bike. I want to take a second to run through all the big differences between the Radster and the previous generation of Rad Power bikes. There's a new frame design with a splashy color option, there's more torque from the motor, and there's totally different behavior with a torque sensor. There's a really minimal contemporary display with added security and the ability to switch between different class settings and speed limits. There's a safer battery with some industry-leading technology. There are turn signals to communicate better with other people on the road. And then finally, when it comes down to price, Rad brought their prices down to better compete with other bikes on the market. The Radster Road is currently priced around $2,000. That's a lot of upgrades and changes, and I'm really pleased to see such a big leap forward for the brand. This bike did a really solid job in each and every one of our tests in general, but compared to other Rad bikes, the difference was almost night and day. The only real points of critique that we have are with the riding position and the bike's overall weight. The stem or handlebars can be changed to adjust the fit and the riding position if you feel like you need it, and the battery can be removed to make it more manageable to lift and move around, but these are still things that prospective buyers should be aware of. But overall, our team was really impressed by this bike, and I think it'll definitely fit the bill for anyone who wants a fun and responsive bike that can go a long distance on a single charge. If you're looking for something that can go off-road, our Radster Trail review will also be going live around the same time as this. We'll leave links to our written reviews in the video description, and then you can check out both bikes at Rad's website using our affiliate link down there as well. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and let us know what you think of this bike down in the comments section. Again, I'm John with Electric Bike Report, and this is the Rad Power Bike's Radster Road.